All right, good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a fabulous Monday morning. There is snow on the ground, and truth be told, when I was growing up as a kid, there was snow on the ground in September, and then the snow didn't leave the ground until like February or March. So the fact that we had a beautiful November and we're just now getting snow, I think really from my experience is a great thing, and it's a lot of fun. But happy Monday morning. Today is Monday, November 27th, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving with family and friends. I know several individuals that I know had a Friendsgiving, which I think is wonderful because sometimes our friends are a little bit better than our families. Sometimes not, but sometimes they are. And there are those that are missing from the table. Either they've passed away or like my son is serving overseas, and we keep them in our thoughts and prayers all the time. Those families that might be struggling at this time of year. I got to tell you, the holidays are a little bit difficult for many families. So if you're struggling, please know that you're not alone. There's a lot of folks that struggle during the holiday season. There's a lot of folks that struggle just seasonally because it gets darker like around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it can be hard on individuals, which is a lot of the reasons why in the General Assembly we had been talking about for years, about daylight savings time and the benefits of daylight saving times, the pros and cons, if daylight savings time is even really necessary these days. And folks like to call me up and say, let's change daylight savings time, which is admirable. And we've had bills over the years for daylight savings time. There's some issues with that, a lot of costs associated with just what we're doing right here with our Zooms, with our broadband, with our broadcast, with all the television schedules and everything to that effect. So it's not as easy. Plus, we need to get approval from the federal government to do it in our state alone. I know that on the federal government, there are some proposals again about daylight savings time. It would be better for it to be done on the national level throughout the whole United States rather than just here in Illinois. However, we've had several pieces of legislations, like I said, many years going on, 4 or 5 years that I can recall, that talks about daylight savings time, that talks about petitioning the federal government to reverse daylight savings time. Understandable. So just so you know, that's always kind of on the docket in Springfield when it comes to this time of year. But to circle right back at you, if you're struggling during this time, please, you can reach out to my office. We have connections with services we can help you out with. If you're struggling, if your heat's not working, please let us know. We try to be as helpful as possible, especially during these stressful times. So if you're struggling during these holiday seasons, I'm repeating myself. If you're struggling during these holiday seasons, you're not alone. And definitely we can help you out, get connected with some services. Please realize that the holiday seasons can be tough for pretty much everybody, even those that are smiling on Facebook. I think they're faking it a little bit. Those folks too, they're not always that happy behind that Facebook smile. So again, I'm going to repeat myself one more time. If you're struggling with the holidays, struggling coping, just struggling overall, struggling with heating or anything to that effect, if you're veterans that are struggling, please reach out to my office because we can connect you with services that can help you out. Services you might not even know exist. So that's my public service announcement of the day. So Thanksgiving, if you were wondering, we had Thanksgiving with family. Then we always do what's called the Turkey Bowl, which is bowling, believe it or not. They have bowling alleys that are open on Thanksgiving, and then topped off the night with a movie with my daughter, and we saw The Marvels. So there you go. That was my Thanksgiving, nothing glamorous, and did not do any really traveling. So one of the things I do, coffee with Kiffy, coffee mug. What's the coffee mug of the day? Of course, I had to bring out my snowman coffee mug. Why? Because it's snowing outside, and I like snow. I don't like the wind chill, but I think snow, when you just drive down the road and you see all the trees covered in snow, it's the most amazing sight that you can see. Now, obviously, I didn't take a picture of it because I was driving, but it's still a great sight for those to see. One of the things I'm going to bring up, first and foremost, we talked a lot about in a lot about climate change. And I went to Washington, D.C. for the elected officials for Protecting America, talking about climate and what we are doing in Illinois with regards to climate change. I've talked about it in the past. This is not a new topic, but I did want to bring out, and this is, I know some of you might laugh at me a little bit, but which is quite all right. That I was reading what is called the newspaper. Now, I know a lot of people read it digitally, but here it is. This is the newspaper. I do get an old-fashioned newspaper. You guys can laugh at me. And those kids out there who might be watching that are in their 20s have never probably seen a newspaper. But here it is. Here it is, the Sunday paper. It is a Tribune. I get the Tribune, I get the Sun-Times, I get the Daily Herald, and I get the Beacon News. And then I do some news searches online. Why do you do this? Because you need to get news sources from very different news media outlets. Don't get it from one news media outlet. A lot of people, just fixate on one TV channel, one newspaper, one site. It's not always the best thing to do. Not always the best thing to do about that, but so I get news from all different sites. So good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Bob. Tuning in, Facebook Live. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate that. But this is called a newspaper, folks. For the younger generation, the generation that's all technological. Yes, sometimes my fingers still get black from the ink. And yes, my dad used to read the newspaper in the morning with his coffee and his breakfast when we were getting ready for school. So it is a little bit of a flashback. But below the fold, they used to say, good stories above the fold, good stories below the fold. Below the fold is a story that talks about what Illinois is doing. So what we are doing is we are trying to reduce carbon emissions in the atmosphere. We're trying to reduce it. So we have CEJA, we have all these bills about reducing carbon emissions. But what do you do about the carbon that's already in the air? What do you do about this? So in Illinois Farm, so here in Illinois, as I've said before, we are an agricultural state. Farming is a lot of our state. And when you had that pumpkin pie, like I said, those pumpkins came from Illinois, packaged in Illinois. That can of pumpkin for your pie came from Illinois. So anywho, here we go. An Illinois farm is a trial ground to remove CO2 from the air. So check that out. So this is actually really kind of cool. It's, everything we are at, everything we do is about, chemistry and biology and the sciences, believe it or not. We need more people going into the sciences, For some reason, we have more people graduating with lawyers. I don't know why, but anyway, this is about science. So it's a natural process called weathering. And when things break down, when they weather, it causes, it causes the carbon to get back into the ground. So it really is a way of capturing the carbon. And I can't really read the article. It's called Illinois Farm is Trial Ground to Remove CO2 from Air. I can't really get into all the nuts and bolts of the article. It's a really comprehensive 2-page article in the middle. It starts on page 18 when you go from the front of the page. And I know I'm giving you a little history on how to read a newspaper, but you got to go to page 18. So this is a full spread. So I'm not going to tell you everything about this process, but look, it's a full spread in the paper. And what they are doing is they're putting really small modules of concrete that are ground up into the ground. And when these small bits of granular of concrete get broken down, get weathering, it captures carbon from the air. It's a really phenomenal, to me, I think it's interesting. Some people can call me a nerd, that's fine. But to me, it's really interesting to read this really innovative method of not only are we going to be limiting carbon that's in our atmosphere, but here in Illinois is a farm that's looking at capturing carbon on the other side of the equation, which is what we need to do. So again, another great thing of why Illinois is really a trailblazer, a leader in a lot of things that people don't give Illinois credit for. And that's definitely one of the things I wanted to highlight. And thanks, Ben, for tuning in. Ben's going to check it out. It's really interesting. Science and technology is, leaps and bounds what they were. I'm going to date myself back in the Stone Age when I was younger. Remote controls had a cord that you had to plug into whatever it was. In this case, it was a VHS player, which nobody knows what they are these days, except for maybe Ben Geller, who's looking, and Bob Dunn. But it had a cord, and now just technology is amazing. But this type of technology that's going to help our environment is just heads and shoulders above amazing. So check it out, as Ben's going to check it out as well. Another thing on my docket is on everybody's docket. There are two main things I think that everybody is looking. I guess docket isn't the right word. Everybody's looking at. The first one is the Ukraine, and I mentioned about being able to Zoom with the mayor from a town in Ukraine last week. If you didn't see it, amazing, just the resilience of them. The Russian-Ukraine hostilities and war that's going on there. But we also now here on the home front in Illinois is the Israel-Hamas situation over there. And we have a large population of Jewish Americans here. We have a large population of Palestinian Americans here as well. And it's gut-wrenching, and it's horrible. And to just look at it is just, and I get reports of, Representative Abanessa Rashid, God bless him, he's lost family over there. And that it's just, it's gut-wrenching. I have no other words for it. Gut-wrenching. It's horrible. However, there is a ceasefire. So we're all praying that this ceasefire continues. I think that's the best thing for everybody involved. And the Hamas released a total of 17 more hostages on Sunday, including one American, Abigail Iden, who actually turned 4 on Friday. So it was a deal that was brokered by a lot of people that want to see a ceasefire and peace in this region: the Biden administration, the United States, Egypt, Qatar. So they all negotiated this ceasefire that began on Friday, and hopefully it continues. It's supposed to continue into today. But we're praying that it stays and it gets extended. This is the longest break of fighting in the Gaza Strip since October 17th. So it's been nonstop until this pause. So today, if you're reading the news, wherever you're getting your news from, the New York Times, I do read the New York Times from time to time too, and a bunch of other things. However, they are open to extending this temporary ceasefire after the current pause. So fingers crossed, prayers, whatever you want to do, we gotta, I think, keep the ceasefire intact. And just praying for this to be resolved, and still praying for Ukraine and Russia to be resolved, which has been over a year, which is just incredible as well. So it's been quite the thing. One of the things with the ceasefire that you might not realize is that humanitarian aid could not go in with the hostilities in place. With this ceasefire, they were able to get in food, they were able to get in medical supplies, they were able to get in. So waiting on the border of Egypt was, the American Red Cross, was humanitarian efforts that were going to go in there and help these people. They couldn't go in since October 7th, all this devastation, all this stuff you've seen on the news. So now the humanitarian aid is in there. They are helping individuals. They're helping people with food and water and medical supplies. And so that was huge. It's very huge. I can't stress enough how much this ceasefire is so important, and maintaining this ceasefire is so important. I could probably talk for an hour about that, but I'm not going to bore you. But it's not boring. It's very, very important stuff. Very, very important stuff. These are things that come across my desk. Obviously, on the state level, there's not much I can do about it. I go to Springfield. Some people tend to conflict the two things. I'm a representative on the state level, not a representative on the congressional level. The representatives on the congressional level in our area is Representative Lauren Underwood and Representative Bill Foster. And so I know that they are very well tuned in and hoping to extend this. I'm tuned into them. I haven't talked to them personally about them, but I know them both. They're very, very amazing individuals doing great work in our national capital, and that we are really looking forward to a ceasefire. So, and hopefully, the ceasefire extends. let's dial it back. We're going from all the way across the ocean to right here in our hometown of Aurora. Well, it was my hometown for decades, and then now I'm located in Oswego. But Aurora University Spartans. So they were on a amazing run. They did an amazing job. Unfortunately, they lost on Saturday to UW La Crosse, 56-35, ending their Division III playoffs run. It was a great game. They played amazingly well, and everybody is so proud of them. If you want to know a little local sports, I know there's a lot of football and national sports out there, but a little local sports here. On Saturday, the Waubonsie Valley High School men's basketball team beat Batavia 47-31, winning the annual Windmill Classic tournament. Now, I'm sure there's some people out there that didn't even know there was an annual Windmill Classic tournament. There is. Waubonsie Valley High School men's basketball won it. Congratulations to those guys. If you want to look at the chat, I got my computer here on the chat. VHS. Sandra put in the chat VHS. Yeah, VHS. Many people don't know what VHS is. It's with a tape. No, nothing has tapes anymore. Sorry, I digress. But congratulations, Waubonsie Valley High School men's basketball. So what else are we doing here? We are, what do you call it? We are not in session until January 16th. So we're not doing anything. Well, we're doing stuff. We work in our home offices, and that week of January 16th is a deadline week. So any legislation that we need to put in to be written, so we submit legislative ideas to what's called the Legislative Research Bureau, LRB. LRB is what we have. And what that week, January 16th, we're back. January 19th, that Friday, is the deadline to get all our requests into LRB. Now you think, how is it that there are things that get written that are beyond this deadline? Well, those are mostly amendments. So this is original bill ideas. Just to give you a little bit of idea how Springfield works, these are original bill ideas. So, for example, I'm going to call out Stacy. Stacy is the assistant commandant of the VFW in Naperville. So she texts me with this idea, which you all can do. My cell phone number is on my website. She texts me with this idea. What they are doing is they're trying to restore headstones in these old cemeteries. These headstones are 75, 100 years old or more, but the Illinois law says that you cannot really do anything with an individual's headstone because it is the property of the family. So that's completely understandable. However, we're talking about historic headstones where it's virtually impossible to find the families of these headstones. And these are what Stacy's doing is these are for veterans and in these cemeteries. So she's obviously, the VFW wants to maintain and work to preserve the memories of our fallen and fix these headstones. But she ran into a snag because you can't, it's virtually impossible to find and to bring down to the level of the family to get permission for the family to fix these headstones that are over 100 years old. You get the picture. So she texted me and she goes, hey, there's an issue with the law. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that text message, the whole scenario that she texted me. And what I did is I'm going to send it to Springfield. My individual in Springfield's name is Michael. I sent it to Michael, and Michael is going to send it to the Legislative Research Bureau. And what they are going to do is they look through all the statutes that pertain to headstones, and they look at the change that I'm wanting to make, and they have to find every piece of law that references a statute that represents the statute that pertains to headstones. And they could be in all different areas. You would be surprised. Again, going backwards, this is why bills sometimes are hundreds of pages long. They're not hundreds of pages of new information. They're hundreds of pages of the same language referencing different parts of the law that we have in Illinois that might refer to the certain thing that we're changing. It might be under the municipal law, might be under the county law, might be under the state law, might also be under a township law. It's very complex. So this original idea of Stacy's has to be at LRB by the end of the week on the 19th. So where is this going? This means that from now until January 16th, we are working, myself, I can't speak for other people, but I am working on any pieces of legislation that might be coming from individuals of the community, like Stacy, like anybody else. And we are putting this together and we're sending it to Springfield, and they are going to start compiling this so that we can get this in, we can get these bills in before the filing deadline, or before the request deadline on January 19th. So that is what we are doing. That is what I'm doing. I say we collectively, because I know that there are a lot of other representatives that are doing this too. However, I can only speak promptly for myself. This is what I'm working on over December and January. Next week, I do have a conference in Washington, D.C. And so, I'll be working a little bit there, but for the bulk, that's what we're working on right now. So short story is, if you have a piece of legislation, or if you know of a piece of law that needs to be changed, that you've come across, that you have an issue with, that we need to research, let me know, and we can get working on it. That's what we're doing right now. Ben, all right, yep, Stacy's request, it's really good. Yeah, well, that's how I work. People text me, people email me, people do send me messages on Facebook. I have to tell you though, when you send me a message on Facebook, it's a little bit hard for me to manage. It's much easier just to send me an email, but I do manage it. Messages on Facebook, text messages, emails, we try to work very hard. Conversely, I will say, if I do not respond to a email, a text message, or a Facebook message, that means I most likely didn't get it. That does not mean that I'm ignoring you. There's a lot that goes along my desk. Please just resend or follow up. That's all I'm asking. There's a lot that goes through on my desk. If I miss it, then it's not you, it's me. And just send a reminder, or 2 reminders, or 3. It's perfectly fine to send me reminders. So that's what we're looking at. In addition, legislatively, on Wednesday, November 29th, which is just this week, the Legislative Budget Oversight Commission is going to meet. So, it's bicameral. So we have a lot of bipartisan commissions. And so what we are looking at is funding for broadband. And so DCEO, I've talked about DCEO before, the Department of Commerce Economic Opportunity, has a plan for our broadband for Illinois. If you recall, in our 2019 capital bill, we put in about $440 million for broadband expansion. And one of the things that people talk about is population, decline. And where's the population declining? Southern Illinois. One of the reasons why we're seeing population decline is the lack of internet access in our rural areas. This is common throughout the nation, not just Illinois. But what we find is earlier I talked about farmers. Some farmers have to drive an hour and a half to find a coffee shop with internet capabilities to be able to upload their orders, to be able to upload their business, things that they have to do online that we here in this area take for granted. Internet is everywhere here. In rural areas, they're not. So we put in $440 million for broadband plans. Now, if you recall, the CHIPS Act and a lot of great legislation from the federal level included funding for broadband. And if you recall, last week, I talked about the governor's commitment to getting every single piece of funding we can that we qualify for from the federal government to match that. So we have broadband money right now. There's broadband money on the federal level. We are ready to go. And that is one of the key reasons why we can be successful at getting federal funding, because we have laid this foundation down so that we can be competitive against other states, and we can compete and get the funding that we need to be able to expand our broadband for the state of Illinois. So another thing that individuals should be happy with, that you have a very aggressive governor going after federal funding to help with Southern Illinois to expand our broadband capabilities for the farmers and the rural areas. So that's on the docket. If you're interested, all these meetings are online. They're open to the public that you can watch if you so choose. Just contact my office and we can give you all the information you want on that. Thank you so much. Ben and Sandra is just blowing up the chat. That's hilarious. You guys are hilarious. So we talked about the laws that the governor signed. Speaking of the governor transitioning, sometimes I transition well with subjects. Sometimes it just comes out of left field. So you get what you get. I'm on my second cup of coffee, so I'm pretty well tuned into these things. So the governor signed, which again, I think is good legislation, voted for it, supported it. It's a new Illinois law. Those convicted of a felony or crimes like bribery or perjury are barred from holding elected state office. So any officials convicted. Now, of course, we're going to go back and talk a little bit about the judicial system. You can be charged with a crime. And we have the status of presumed innocent until proven guilty. So that's the standards in which we function at right now. So there are individuals right now going through the court system, having their cases being heard that are not convicted yet. However, this legislation talks about officials being convicted of a felony, bribery, perjury, or other infamous crimes from holding local or state level elected positions. So Illinois already prohibited anybody convicted of felonies or quote unquote infamous crimes from holding local office, be it mayor, alderman, school board. However, believe it or not, it did not pertain to state level elected positions. Until now, only voters at the ballot box could prevent somebody convicted of such a crime from becoming a state legislator or even governor. So now I know. You're gonna remind me. I know this is Facebook Live and this is one-sided, but I get the feeling that people are going to remind me that we had governors that went to jail. This is correct. They were a governor, they went to jail. However, before this law, those governors could come back and be governors again or state legislators. And so now we passed a law, which I think is a very good law, that if somebody is convicted of these crimes, that they are not allowed to become a state legislator or a governor or anything else. So we also looked at creating a task force that is charged in examining like what criminal conduct precludes a person from holding public office in Illinois right now, and if there's any other conduct. So we have like really felony, bribery, perjury, infamous crimes such as murder, those kind of things right now in the books. But now we created a task force to be like, what other infractions of law would really undermine the public trust that needs to be had when you hold elected office? And that's the key. Holding an elected office, whether you're state legislator or governor, alderman, mayor, school board, the public has to trust and have confidence in that person to do the job with ethics and with the public interest in mind, not their own self-interest. And that's the basis of this law, the basis of this task force, is because that is how really our democracy is based on. It's based on trust. Our democracy, people might take it for granted. It's very, very fragile. And when individuals start eroding that basis of trust, which circles right back to why get more information from various different newspapers right here, the public newspaper, WTTW, the Daily Herald, the Beacon News, whatever you get your news from, multiple news sources, because individuals that are trying to undermine the public trust really undermines the fabric of our democracy. So this bill and this task force is charged with looking at ensuring that individuals that could undermine the public trust through criminal conduct are not allowed to hold office or be put on the ballot for these elected positions. So that's our little Civics 101. Civics 101, a little bit about how the government functions. And myself, a veteran, and my son in the Navy, and all my friends that really put their lives on the line for our country, and the few individuals I know that gave up their lives for our country, our democracy, the fabric of democracy, is something that is so important that we need to strive for every day. So what else is going on? We talked about DCO and broadband, so we're going to segue back into some new business initiatives. So in 2020, 2021, there were funding set aside, new businesses that launched in 2021. We looked at, they can be, during the COVID years, they can be eligible for up to $30,000 in grants, and the applications are open on November 30th. So again, we're segueing back to the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And so in the budget, we set aside about $25 million in available grant funding through the Back to Business, the B2B New Biz program. Now we've done this, we've had this program in effect, and definitely it's open for, again, new businesses. So businesses that launched in 2020, 2021, you might see them, you might be like, oh my gosh, you guys opened up during COVID, and they've remained in operation. God bless them. But they have had a lot of struggles still to this day. You're like, hey, you're open. You got through COVID. Congratulations. They're still struggling. And they might not have been eligible for other federal and state relief programs because they were not open prior to the pandemic. So this is the B2B New Biz program. Businesses that have launched between January 2020 and December 2021 in an industry that was particularly impacted by the pandemic, or business that started by individuals that became unemployed during the pandemic. So here's the thing. This is, again, Illinois looking out for small businesses. If you were unemployed during the pandemic, it did happen, and then you opened up your own business because, believe it or not, you had to pay your bills, that could be eligible too. So eligible funding amounts are based on when the business was established and whether the business is home-based or operating out of a brick-and-mortar establishment. So you guys go to b2bnewbiz.com and you can learn more and apply. So that's, again, Illinois helping out, our business community. A lot of people like to say that we are, don't support our businesses. It's false. It's not true. We've had a lot of businesses move in. I've talked to you about that over the weeks, and definitely still working hard to make sure that our businesses are supported, especially those that are opened up during the COVID 2020, 2021 years. So what else is going on? We were just talking about this. I know my notes kind of go all over the place, but the governor is committed to getting as much federal funding as we can for the state of Illinois. It's competitive. If we don't get it, another state's going to get it. The governor is committed to getting as much federal money as we can. Illinois just got $4.5 million from the federal government to improve safety and efficiency. So what we looked at is through the Illinois Department of Transportation, we got an additional $4.5 million in federal highway administration grant to develop a new digital system that will improve efficiencies and safety, as well as modernize the future construction projects. So it is one of 10 awarded to 35 states that applied. So one of the 10. So we got one grant out of the 10 grants that we're eligible for. I think that's pretty darn good. So what are they going to do? IDOT is going to establish a digital network to share information on upcoming projects, reduce paper. I know I just have a paper newspaper. Y'all can chuckle a little bit. I still got the paper newspaper, but IDOT has a lot more paper. Reduce paper, allow for 3D modeling, aerial surveying, and improve accuracy and increase efficiency of data collection for other state and local agencies to access electronically. Now, so this is IDOT. Illinois Department of Transportation is planning to improve more than 3,000 miles of highway and nearly 10 million square feet of bridge deck as part of, again, the capital plan, Rebuild Illinois, that we passed in 2019. IDOT works with local levels of government as well. So the fact that we will have this information available for local agencies as well, that's huge. What we normally do with road improvements, and I know road improvements is kind of a boring subject, and you hear, oh, roads, it's kind of boring. A lot of technological engineering goes into whether they're redoing the highway when you drive down 290, or whether they're doing construction here on Wolf's Crossing, or even the signals, the way the signals work on like Route 34 in our area. A lot of technology goes into that. So this grant will be really important, and we'll use a lot with regards to road construction. Saving money, saving paper, and being more efficient is a lot. Is a lot that we can do to make sure that not only the local levels, but the state levels are working together to make sure that the roads are finished on time, hopefully under budget, and definitely done the right way, the way it's supposed to be done. It's horrible right now. I understand that, but once the construction is over, it's a beautiful flow. The roads are great, and our bridges are safe. As you recall, back in 2019, Illinois' bridges were failing with D's and F's, and we passed the capital bill, the Rebuild Illinois bill in 2019, and we are redoing a lot of those bridges because we need to make sure that people are traveling on roads that are paved, bridges that are safe and drivable. That's just the bottom line. Again, what do we got here? The Illinois Department of Natural Resources, they got a grant to recognize and research African American heritage properties in Southern Illinois. Now, these are things that come across my desk, and I share these with you to make you know that there are subjects that the average person just doesn't think about. And this is one of them. So our Department of Natural Resources, we were awarded a $75,000 grant from the National Park Service to recognize significant African American heritage properties in Southern Illinois. So Illinois was one of 21 projects in the 16 states and the District of Columbia to receive funding from the Underrepresented Community Grant, URC. From URC, the Underrepresented Community Grant program through the Historic Preservation Fund that's administered through the National Park Service. You might not have known there's a Historic Preservation Fund. It's not just for houses. It's also for or structures. It's also through the National Park Service. So what this project is doing is a collaborative effort between the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office. And this is a division, believe it or not. There's a division of the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the Center of Archaeological Investigation in Southern Illinois University. So this is a collaboration, and we're looking forward to seeing the product of this collaboration with these funds that we have received. So definitely, I'm looking forward to getting an update on those efforts, and really excited that we were able to get one of those few grants from the National Park Service. Staying on the subject of a little bit about museums, I was approached by individuals that ask me all the time. My family member, my grandfather, my father was in World War II. We have a lot of military items from when he passed away. What do we do with them? Well, Illinois has a military museum in Springfield on Camp Lincoln. So, and I have the individual that I can connect with. So if you have artifacts, if you have, letters written from the war, if you have, things that are, from World War II, from, even from maybe World War One, these things that have been passed down in your family, old uniforms, they'd probably even take my old uniform. Believe it or not, though, it's still I did try it on. It still fits. It's a little bit tight, but it still fits, buttons and everything. But if you have old uniforms that you want preserved, or that you want that you don't really know what to do with, we do have a military museum in Springfield at Camp Lincoln that we can connect you with to preserve those artifacts with the state of Illinois properly and in perpetuity. So if you need that information, let me know. Contact my office. Again, shoot me an email or a text message, or even a Facebook message, even though I'm a little bit slow on getting back to Facebook messages. Again, email is the best, but reach out to me and we can connect you with the right people to be able to preserve those historic memorabilia. If you have military memorabilia from past wars that you need to find a home for, we can do that. Other than that, let's talk about health. I know some people are out there sniffling, sneezing, stuffy head, stuffy nose. There is respiratory viruses. They're ticking up. So we get reports from the Illinois Department of Public Health. RSV, flu, COVID, all those reports come across our desk. They're open to the public. You can go to the website, Illinois Department of Public Health, if you so choose to read them. I will tell you, I skim them. But I do look at them so hospitalizations for COVID-19, RSV, and flu are increasing across Illinois. So our Department of Public Health Director, Samir Vora, is urging residents to use all the tools at their disposal to protect themselves, to make sure that they remain healthy for the holidays. As you might know, there are vaccines for COVID-19, there are vaccines for the flu and for RSV, and they are the most effective tool in preventing severe illness. And so make sure you're up to date on your vaccines. I was in the military. I have so many vaccines. I don't even know how many there are, 25 or 20, whatever. So I always get my vaccine. I've been perfectly fine. All my family's gotten their vaccines. They've been fine. Make sure that you are up to date with your vaccines during this time to make sure that your body is well equipped for these severe illnesses. So respiratory virus, keep in mind, coughing, sneezing, sore throat, runny nose, fever. It's always best to get tested and to stay home. If you're sick, don't spread it to other individuals. And now, the federal government announced as of November 20th, every household in the U.S. is eligible to receive 4 free at-home tests through the covid.gov website. .gov is the official website. Don't go to any other website. .gov is the official handle for official government websites. For those that are uninsured, underinsured, the CDC this summer launched the Bridge Access Program that will cover the cost of COVID-19 vaccines this fall. Vaccines for Children program will cover vaccines for eligible children. Now recall, September 22nd, it is recommended seasonal administration of 1 dose of RSV vaccine during the weeks of 32 to 36 of pregnancy to maximize protection for babies after birth. So if you are expecting, keep in mind that this is an avenue to talk to your doctor about it. Don't take my advice for it at all. I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. Please talk to your doctor about all this information, but definitely trying to protect newborns, and those who are pregnant are encouraged to get vaccinated. So talk to your doctor about that. That's so important. In addition to that, Healthy Illinois 2028 initiative. We like to plan things in the government in 5-year intervals. So the Illinois Department of Public Health will hold a series of virtual public hearings November 28th, 29th, and the 30th to seek public input and comment on the state health assessment and the state health improvement plan. So these 2 documents are part of the Healthy Illinois 2028 statewide 5-year plan. The state loves 5-year plans. I think businesses like 5-year plans too. I don't know. The state loves 5-year plans. A statewide 5-year plan to improve the health of Illinoisans by addressing the priority of public health issues in your community. So participants in the public hearing will be able to offer their perspective on pretty much anything of a significant health issue in the state. It could be chronic disease, infant mortality, 19. We just had a report about Sterigenics and health issues around that area, mental health, substance use disorder, racism, chronic crime, everything affects public health, crime, trauma, drinking water, air, traffic, stress. So the point is, Healthy Illinois 2028 statewide 5-year plan, public hearings November 28th through the 30th, 20th, 29th, and 30th. If you want to participate, the meetings will be from 1 to 4 each day via Zoom. You need to sign up in advance. You can go to dph.illinois.gov. DPH, Department of Public Health, dph.illinois.gov if you want to participate. Other than that, rolling right along, what else is going on? I know you would think last week was a short week and not much was going on, but everything, there's always everything going on. There's no day off. But the Illinois Supreme Court on Tuesday last week, see, things are going on. They heard arguments of the case that challenged the 2019 Pension Consolidation Act. So I'm just going to assume that I need to brief you. In 2019, there was a Pension Consolidation Act. So what happened was we had local police and fire pension funds scattered throughout the state, hundreds of them. And so what we did in 2019 is we consolidated them because in finance, when you have small pots of money, you tend to have higher fees and lower returns because you can't diversify as well as you can. When you have a larger pot of institutional investing, then you can get lower fees because volume. If you buy 1,000 of something, you get a lower price point than if you buy 10 of something sometimes. So what we did was we just consolidated the financial aspect of these pension funds. Now, there are still individual pension local boards that are involved in local pension issues, benefits, you name it. But the investments, the sums of money were pooled together to offer greater returns. And then there was a board put in place. So when the state does things, the state gets sued more than not. So nearly 36 retirees and about 17 of these small funds, because, we took the small funds then had to close the accounts and they went into a big institutional account. They sued that they were being disenfranchised by doing that. So the attorneys for the plaintiffs argued Illinois' ironclad pension protection clause, which has been reaffirmed over and over and over again, that cannot diminish the pension benefits cannot be diminished. They're arguing that this extends to voting rights of individuals, and these individuals feel that their voting right has been diminished. And it seemed that the justices, we can say, this is just going through the court. They were heard arguments. The perception might be that the justices might be a little skeptical on that. However, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I can't even attest to anything of the legal aspect. My degree is in public administration, but onlookers seem to think that the judges were a little skeptical on this argument. But that's what happened last week. Also on the judicial realm, believe it or not, eggs. An Illinois jury ruled this week that several major egg producers conspired to limit the United States supply of eggs in order to raise prices from 2004 to 2008. The judicial system is not quick. It's deliberately long to make sure that everything is taken into account. This was from 2004 to 2008. I can't even remember what I paid for eggs back then. But anyway, the jury found that the egg suppliers exported eggs to reduce the overall supply in the domestic market, as well as limiting the number of chickens through means of including cage space, early slaughter, and flock reductions. The court documents point to that. The jury unanimously delivered the verdict Tuesday in the Northern District Court of Illinois, and damages will be decided on trial scheduled next week. As you may or may not know, Illinois being the hub of the Midwest, we have several federal districts and our local districts. So this is the Northern District of Illinois. So that was decided this week. So if you can remember back to 2004, 2008, the egg prices in the U.S. market, God bless you, I don't. But somebody did, somebody sued, and they won. Several major egg producers conspired to limit and raise their prices. That's a little bit of the role of government, to make sure that these individuals or the judicial system, the executive branch, us lawmakers, is to make sure that we find these things when people are manipulating the system and hold them accountable. That's one of the avenues. Now, Ben Keller, egg conspiracy. It was Ben. Ben's on a roll today. I think Ben had more coffee than I did this morning. He's jubilous. Everybody saw it on Facebook that knows Ben and Josie. They're going to be grandparents. We love them. They're great. Congratulations to you guys. It's all exciting. And I've known those guys since way back, decades. I've known them for decades. So congratulations, Ben and Josie, for you guys and the great grandparents that you guys are going to be. That's amazing and so much fun. So moving right along, just giving you a quick snippet. The Department of Revenue, we were all shopping. I think you guys were shopping on Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, you name it. There's so many avenues to shop these days. I can't even recall them all. But the Department of Revenue offers online safety tips as holiday shopping season approaches. So don't give out too much information online. Birthday, addresses, age, financial information, that stuff don't really need to be shared. Use a credit card. You don't need to give all that information. Do not give out your social security number. Do not give that out. Any kind of phishing thing, believe it or not, I get a lot of emails. And if somebody sends me just a link, I'm deleting it. If somebody sends me something that looks weird, I'm deleting it. So, if you're going to send just a link, give me a heads up, but I'm just going to delete it because I don't click anything. Don't click anything in your emails. If you think it's something that's correct, you can copy and paste it. Don't click anything on your emails that come through. Strong passwords. Look at your passwords and get a strong passwords. Because my kids went through the public school system, passwords that they use, but strong passwords, upper symbols, numbers, mix it up. You can get your passwords. We all have it. I can't even order Chipotle without multi-factor authorization. It protects you. Make sure you updates on your phone and on your computer. An antivirus protection. Computers use a VPN. Criminals can intercept personal information by network. So like to go on the public Wi-Fi, off of public Wi-Fi. The only Wi-Fi is secure. So don't have to. There are that, but hackers, they're good. Again, email deals. Don't click. Just go straight to the website. If you get in that says 50% off everything in the store, just go to the browser and browse. Don't click on anything on emails. Spam. Text. Use a credit card instead of a debit card. I use my credit card. Why? Because I don't want a direct link to my bank account. When you're doing that, gives you a little bit more protection. If somebody gets into your debit card, credit card, and charges up fraudulent charges, and they can make sure that individual is held accountable. So always that and if you're using your credit card instead of your, forget to transfer the money from your, you really do. I will have to make sure that you have the money in your account and then transfer it. Do, but use your credit card, and they got all the things out there to help you out. So that's another day. Use your credit card. The chat, you can see Facebook Live, but Ben says spilled my coffee the other day. And Ben, it's a secret. On Facebook, it's not a secret. You're gonna be grandparents. Just own it. You're gonna be great grandparents. Today, it kind of goes along with what I was talking about. Believe it or not, Merriam, my day, it was actual physical book. It's online. I think they still of the dictionary. Merriam-Webster word of the day every year from the dictionary people. Deep fakes, AI, truth, fake news, clickbait. Merriam-Webster for 2023 is authentic. So the high volume lookup substantial increase in 2023 again by stories and converse culture, identity, social media, name it. Authentic means, just so that you guys can be well. Authentic has a number of meanings: imitation, and actual, and also true spirit and character. Trait, desirable trait. Authentic is hard to define, and it's a really interesting word to be to the dictionary to look at. There you have it. The word of the year is authentic. Morning, but upcoming events: Oswego Christmas Walk, 4:30 to 8. Performers, local choirs, Santa's stream, inflatable sled lighting performance, and an emergency. Also on Friday, December 1st, you walk around with a special mug. There's art, there's music, there's more types of hot chocolate and types and flavors, and that, unfortunately, you're not going to see me there, but please, December 2nd, you got Friday and you got Saturday, Riverfront Park. If you want to go up to North, it's a nice town on State Street, followed by park lighting, front park. Santa will be present. Holiday Christmas meeting coming up December 1st and 2nd. Has a lot of the Christmas season. There's a new Italian restaurant in, goodness gracious, I think it was like 20 years ago, right there on the river. Haven't had an Italian. Relations to Amore Mio, November 17th, 3 former Gillerson's Grubbery in Italian restaurant. The co-owner, his wife Erica Villanueva. They are going of the great Italian American Latin fusion restaurants. If you haven't been to El Trio Latin, going back several years, right there on River Place Plaza. This is an independent Yellow Bird Books, 3-stone building. So, and she spent 20 years as a shop online or to reflect the emphasis on science fiction and fantasy. So you can go to now. I'm gonna say it again. Donations for Toys for Tots in our office is the day that all the volunteers segregated out base can give every child a Christmas. And Toys for Tots is our initiative. It's a great, please drop off as many toys as you want. Sometimes people like to buy middle schoolers and high schoolers. They're still kids. Gift certificates they will take in as well. I know it's buy all these little kid toys. Give them gift certificates or adult toys, older kid toys. Other than this, there are more heat, let us know. Uh, definitely be, make sure everything's yours. Warm